Oh, 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 oh. Let me tell you something about myself, baby. Oh, 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 oh. I was a huge Elvis Presley fan. I owned every collection of the Elvis songs, albums, records, concert films, and even his own films that he did, such as, and those based on the songs, Love Me Tender, Viva Las Vegas, Jailhouse Rock, and my favorite, Blue, Hawaii. I was a huge fan, like I said, but then something morbidly secret was revealed to me about his career. I went to a local Elvis store one day, not too far from my very domicile. I was getting my Elvis mugs, Elvis maps for when I go on vacation, Elvis pens, even my pristine Elvis Halloween costume. But then something caught my attention. A VHS tape, which read, The Lost Elvis Movie. I thought to myself, wait a second, a lost movie starring Elvis the King? I must get it. So me and my parents agreed to get the VHS tape, and when I showed it to the cashier, he said, Oh, you can't buy this. It haunts me. It gives me the nightmares. And I said, Wait a sec. This Elvis movie gives you the nightmares? Come on, it's Elvis. How bad can it possibly be? The cashier rolled his eyes and said, Whatever. It's your funeral. You're going to have nightmares anyway. So screw him. I bought it. Before I left the store, the cashier was so frightened that he held his hands. Maybe it's because it's a broken tape, but it was in good condition. Me and my mom and dad were rushing home, just so excited. I was hoping for my parents to watch with me, cuddling each other. But the problem was my parents were sick. I don't know why they were sick about nothing, so I decided to watch on my own, just curious about the tape. And, well, things got ugly. When I played the tape, the video opened up with something unusual. It began with the sounds of violin screeching, as well as sounds of people screaming in pain and misery. And this was in a blank screen. I was so shocked. Then it cut to the Paramount logo from the 1950s, assuming that this is one of those Elvis films from the 50s, so it played normally. Then the title said, No, on a black screen. It slowly faded away. I thought to myself, there wasn't a song called No by Elvis Presley. There was Don't, but there was no No. I mean, is that the actual movie title? Whatever, I thought it was an interesting title for an Elvis movie. So as we get to the opening scene of the film, well, I wasn't promising, I'll tell you that. It was a scene of Elvis without his guitar. He wasn't singing. He wasn't with the girls. And the scene was at nighttime in Russia, surprisingly. No Elvis movie, as I know of, took place in Russia. Elvis was staring at the camera sad. He wasn't acting sad or doing the happy sad face. He was really sad as his tears came out of his eyes. Wow, I thought to myself. Rarely do I see Elvis sad. Then he had a CD disc of an Elvis song, which is weird since this is a movie from the late 50s and CDs weren't invented until the 70s, at least 1976. Then I saw what seemed to be a millisecond picture, grotesque picture of a puppet with no eyes. It was smiling and his face was covered with blood. As that happened, Elvis got shocked. It wasn't acting, he was shocked for real, and so was I. Then the Elvis fangirls came in and did something cute to Elvis, like normal for 30 seconds. But after that half a minute, we see a creepy girl face. It wasn't a regular Elvis girl or any girl that I could think of. Just a girl with vampire teeth and no eyes except they were blood. She drinks blood out of nowhere and vomits it too, and then drinks the vomit, doing the repetition for a whole minute. Then the girls weren't cuddling up to Elvis anymore. Elvis looked at the camera as it cuts to the girls burning, burning to the ground. The flames got larger, larger, larger as Elvis said, No, and backwards. I was terrified. I mean, I couldn't believe that there would be an Elvis movie doing such despicable activity like this. And then Elvis said, "Well, what happened?" And then he cried again. Like I said, not even acting, but really sad. His tears flew out. I paused the video and took a closer look at his tears, and the tears were actually tiny images of Osama bin Laden's head. Keep in mind that this was made in the 50s, but the tears were Osama's head and it was modern day Osama. I found it weird and yes, scary, since an evil terrorist in Afghanistan was in a 50s movie starring Elvis. To make matters worse, after girls were burning alive, one girl turned into Adolf Hitler. I was shocked to see a girl turn into a genocidal person that killed millions of people, being in, of all things, an Elvis movie. Then Elvis said, "Well, I don't give a fuck about those girls." I was frightened to hear Elvis say the F word uncensored, even in a 1950s film. No 50s film would ever use the F word, and not even a movie with Elvis. We cut to a scene where a school shooting occurred. The shooting was actually in Sandy Hook Elementary. I was shocked seeing as how they predicted the 2012 shooting of Sandy Hook. Elvis walks into the school pretending like nothing ever happened. And sounds of bullets occur. We see kids with no eyes and no mouths, but all the maggots of blood in their faces. Elvis shoved the kid in his shotgun. The shooter shot the kid, and then Elvis had an evil smirk on his face. This is when the audio got muffled. I didn't know if it was just a poor video transfer or the tape was broken. I have no clue, so I continued watching. Screen cut to black for 3 seconds. Then we go back to Sandy Hook. To make matters worse, there was a shadow of the World Trade Center on fire as Elvis saw the smoke. And yes, not only did it predict Osama bin Laden and Sandy Hook, it predicted 9/11 as they showed an airplane crashing through the World Trade Center. The picture was in good quality this time. It seemed like the 50s predicted almost everything. I was really frightened. The fact that an Elvis movie could predict 9/11, Sandy Hook, and Osama bin Laden. Then it cut to black again, this time 2 minutes with the sounds of the shooting and people screaming. And we see Elvis. We see Elvis singing a happy song about how he enjoys people dying. This was the part where I got scared and said, "Why, Elvis? How can you enjoy people dying?" He was also muttering. I went to the speaker of the TV, and what he was saying was, "All fucked you up. Your death is rising. The future is fading. Uh-huh." I couldn't handle it, so I tried to stop the tape, but Elvis said, "No." So, does that mean I have to keep going? I thought to myself. So then the other girl, which was not a fangirl, came up and saw the devil walk that Elvis always does. But this time the suit had blood and read the words in reverse writing 666 all the way to the waist. He made a devil symbol, and then she realized that Elvis was indeed the devil. Elvis started to vomit blood like how the girls did earlier in the film. And then he grabbed his genitals. Seriously, he grabbed his genitals in an Elvis movie. He didn't just thrust his pelvis, he grabbed his genitalia. And he jerked off with his clothes on like nothing happened. He was also crying like he did earlier. And once again, just a reminder, he was not acting. He cried louder and louder and louder up until the point where he stares at the camera for 2 minutes so angry. He wasn't acting mad. He was really angry as his eyes turned blood red. He then quickly jumped off the building, ending his life. We finally see Elvis's dead body alongside other bodies coming from the girls from earlier, as well as bodies from Sandy Hook. The screen went black, and then we see a picture of Elvis's red corpse. The camera zooms extremely fast to his face, and the blood came out so real. Then he whispered, "Yes, now." Pulled out a gun, and he shot himself, committing suicide once again with blood and gore, featuring grisly images that happened in a millisecond of 6-year-old kid and a gun, and he actually pulls the trigger, and it was the same gun that Elvis used. The video is almost mercifully over. And as we cut to the black screen, we hear Elvis saying, "I hope you enjoyed life as we know it, because my bodily remains are now dead." And we see cannibals eating up Elvis's flesh, and that was really grisly. And the cannibals ran to the screen, coming toward me with blood red eyes, and the video abruptly ended. I was frightened so much I ejected the tape, and then the tape and VCR player were both on fire. I was so scared. I quickly ran to my parents and asked for a fire extinguisher to put the fire down. I was hoping that the VCR was okay when I put another VHS in, which was actually not an Elvis movie, and the VCR was okay. Not the tape that was known as the Lost Elvis movie. So I returned the tape to the cashier at the store, and he said, "I warned you." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." He threw the tape in the trash. As I was going home from the Elvis store, there were police cars surrounding the neighborhood. The policeman told my mom and dad that they caught the guy for grave robbing and shootings, and they went ahead and investigated the neighborhood. The police were then informed that the tape they had was actually a lost Elvis movie that they sold to the Elvis store. I told them I bought the tape there. So we saw what was in the neighborhood doing all this, and like I said, it was a random person. The police were nice to give me a $2,000 reward. I said, "Thanks, I appreciate it," since the tape scared the crap out of me. I had nightmares for a week after watching that tragedy known as the Lost Elvis movie, till I was finally relieved when I saw Jailhouse Rock on Turner Classic Movies again, as well as on DVD. But to this day, I wonder who sent me a tape like this. I said to myself, no more red tape. Hello, Blue Hawaii. Seems like Elvis really is the devil's music.